Welcome to the Addicted to DVC podcast, a deep dive into all things Disney Vacation Club. We share tips, tricks, and insider info, helping you make the most of your membership. Join us for the latest news, reviews, and interviews with DVC experts and enthusiasts. Whether you're a seasoned DVC member or considering your first contract, this podcast is for you. Now, here are your hosts, Mike Hurley and Gary Arruda.
Welcome to the Addicted to DVC podcast with Mike and Gary. This is episode 1, recorded in the DeFont Leroy Recording Studios in Sarasota, Florida, in Cranston, Rhode Island. I'm your host, Mike in Florida, joined by my co-host and cousin Gary up in Rhode Island. What's going on,
Mike? What's new?
It's if you haven't had enough of us over the past 10 years,
It's a new venture.
Here's something else to listen to for 5 minutes and delete.
Yeah, exactly. The good news is we're forcing it out to you. So if you're subscribed, you're getting this automatically.
Yeah, yep.
Which is great. But it's a new we've been teasing it. Took a little longer to get going.
It did. I think we were ready to rock and roll, and then Europe came up.
Yeah.
And then Vero Beach came up, and then 10 days of your Disney vacation came up.
Yeah. We had to get through our summer travel.
Yeah. They're all business meetings, though. We're all visiting DVC resorts and going on DVC cruises and going on adventures by DVC.
That is very true. Speaking of, I need to talk to HR and put in a PTO request for a couple of weeks.
Well, I'm in charge of this podcast, so
that's what I'm saying.
You've been very strict with my time requests, so you don't expect any favors in return.
Any leniency, yeah. We'll have
exactly.
to talk about that.
So anyways, we just wanted to jump in and introduce ourselves to those of you who don't know us.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, if you're not familiar with us, we've been doing a Disney podcast, WDW Beyond the Gates, for over 10 years now.
Over 10 years. What was it? Late February or mid-February, right?
Yeah.
Of 2014 is when we started that.
Mm-hmm. And then we moved on, not moved on, but we wanted to add to our portfolio as we both became DVC members in the last, 18 months or so?
Yeah, and that's pretty much all we had been talking about over the past 2 years. And
yeah, it's definitely taken.
We got requests from listeners to get the old show back on the rails.
Yeah, so we wanted to move all of our DVC specific discussion to this podcast. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk focus on the DVC aspect, addicted to DVC, which definitely could describe both of us right now. Yeah. It's a problem, isn't it?
It's a sickness. I look at contracts multiple times a day now. It's outrageous.
Do you get frustrated on the weekends when they don't upload as many contracts I do?
Yeah.
I actually have time to look on the weekend, and then all those services, they're probably not loading them up onto their sites.
Now, do you also, is it almost like Christmas? Like when I'm looking for X resort with a June use year, and for the past 4 days, there's been 7 results. And when you see 8 or 9, you're like, oh, they added 2.
Some fresh meat.
Oh, there's 2 newbies.
That's like when they come by with the meat tray at Shula's. Like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, when they're walking down the aisle. Oh, I wasn't expecting to see that. That's a low point at a great price.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, I guess we can get right into it, though. You wanted to kind of, like you said, introduce ourselves to any new listeners that we might have on this new show. We might catch a different audience and get some new people.
Right.
I mean, talk about yourself a little bit. When you started going to Disney, what made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, so the first question is, what made us fall in love with it? I think I had been, when I was 4 or 5 when we lived down here, don't really remember it, went a couple times, stayed on iDrive, loved the Magic Kingdom. They were still in the process of building Epcot. But it was 87, my first stay at the Grand Floridian. Staying on property was just amazing. It was a different way to do the parks. It wasn't that 45-minute drive to and from either 192 or iDrive. And that's when I started my addiction.
Yeah. I mean, you stayed at the Grand Floridian the first year it was open, right?
Literally months. The paint was still wet when we stayed there.
Yeah. And so it has good nostalgia for you, but you loved it from the beginning.
I did. I was always
Yeah.
a Magic Kingdom guy. Always just it was special. You know, you live in the Northeast and you have 7 to 8 miserable months of weather,
Yeah.
and that was just something you always look forward to. Regardless of what if it was a Disney vacation or going to Lake George or New Hampshire, it was just time to get away from
Sure. The regular
the
the
regular
routine.
routine. How about you? When did you fall in love with it?
So we went a few times, not as kids. Like the first time I went, I was already in high school. So I didn't go when I was younger. And my dad didn't go. It was my mom and my sisters and I. Think we stayed at All Star Sports.
Okay.
And we didn't even go to Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom had just opened, I think. So this was like 99,
Yep.
2000. I think we were only there for maybe 3 or 4 nights. Um, didn't do a whole lot. We didn't know what we were doing. You know, there wasn't YouTube channels and stuff like that. We
Sure.
just kind of went in blind. Um, and it was okay. I liked it, but it wasn't anything crazy. Then I started going as an adult with my family, and we go down for some trips, and I started to like it more and more. But when I really fell in love is when I was getting married. We decided to have our honeymoon at Disney World, and started doing all the research about the different resorts, the dining plan, all the different restaurants. And then between the buildup, I started listening to podcasts or reading message boards. I was getting into it a lot, like in the planning stage. And so I started really getting deep into it. And, the honeymoon was great, trying all that's when they had the deluxe dining plan, which we did for our
Oh yeah.
honeymoon. So we did like all the signature restaurants on our honeymoon, and, 3 sit down credits a day. It was insane. Too much food.
That's when you got appetizers
You
as
get
well. Yeah.
appetizers too, yeah.
Oh,
It was ridiculous. Uh, but that really made us fall in love, and we've been back a bunch of times since then. And obviously, we started doing the podcast in 2014. Had some kids. Now I'm taking them, so it's all it's continuing.
passing
And
it on to a new generation.
yep, and the DVC has definitely reinvigorated my love for it, because it's a different way to do it, different style. I was always a value guy, Pop Century.
Yeah, when you have to pay out of pocket. Not that you're
Sure.
not paying out of pocket with DVC, but
No, of course. But yeah, I mean, we would always do Pop Century, or once in a while we'd do a moderate if we were going to splurge or if we got a good deal. Then we rented points and stayed at Animal Kingdom. And I was like,
that
this is
messed you
kind of
up.
nice. This is kind of nice.
Yeah, we
And then,
paid cash on that same trip and spent a couple nights in Animal
right.
Kingdom Lodge, and
Yeah. And then started looking in the resale market, ended up doing that. And, now I've been a few times with the contract, and I love it. I can't get over it. It's just so a nice way to do it. Like you said, it's not, you're paying for it. Obviously, you're paying your dues. You pay for the contract, but it feels like you're getting,
you
like,
get
it
away
feels
with
like it's
something.
free, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Which is dangerous. That's the real dangerous
Yeah,
part
it
of it.
really is.
Because obviously, intellectually, we both know it's not free.
No, of course
It's
not.
quite expensive. You're not even really saving a lot of money. You are on a deluxe, but I'm not saving money with DVC by staying. If I was going to stay at Pop Century, it's probably like break even, a little
Yeah,
more
sure.
expensive. But for what you get, I wouldn't have been able to do the trip I just did, which we'll talk about in a future episode, without the DVC contract. There's no way I would pay that out of pocket. So it would have been an entirely different vacation. Yeah, I mean, my favorite park is still Epcot. I've always liked
Yeah, it's
Epcot.
mine. We don't have to go
Um,
back and forth on that.
yeah, I mean, the cat. I mean, I love Donald Duck. He's my guy. Same with you. You're kind of
Donald
in the
Duck is
same
my
boat.
favorite character. And it's surprising because I'm a knucklehead and a hothead, but why do you like him?
Because he's the best one. He's not so cuddly and lovable and like flowers and rainbows. He's got a little bit of an edge to him,
Mhm.
That's why I like him.
And you'll see that firsthand at Topolino's at their breakfast.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy. Mickey was
We'll
taking
be
a lot of time.
discussing that too. Great characters at that dining
Yes.
establishment. What's your favorite resort?
So far, That's that's tricky. Of ones I've stayed at, I do love Wilderness Lodge. I just stayed there for the first time.
Yep.
Um, but it didn't blow me away as much as I was hoping.
Wow.
Like the resort itself did, but the room wasn't as impressive as I was hoping for, and a couple other things which we'll get to in a future episode. But
Okay.
I would say right now, I love Saratoga. It's
That's your
hard.
favorite.
Right now, of the ones I've stayed at, the vibe there is good. Maybe it's, partially because that's where I own, so it feels a little different. And, the couple trips we had there, it was just my wife and I for a weekend, which we haven't done. And then the tree house with the whole family, which was a great
Oh, that was
just
fantastic.
the vibes there I really like. It's very laid back. How about you? What's your favorite resort?
It's still the Grand Floridian. I love the villas. I love that separate building. I think the lobby's uh, a little mini lobby of the main
Mhm.
area. I like the rooms. I like sitting on my balcony and watching the monorail go by. I like being able to walk to their fantastic restaurants.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Magic Kingdom guy. I go a few times a year, so it kind of forces me on our stays at the Grand Floridian to go over there, to go over to the Contemporary and walk around the Polynesian.
Yeah, and
Gets
I
me out of
mean,
my Epcot comfort zone.
however, even if you don't wanna spend a ton of time in the Magic Kingdom, it is nice being able to, stand out at the pool and see the castle and see,
It
hear the
is.
train and stuff like that.
And to hear the boats going from the TTC over to the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. I'm not a huge Grand Floridian guy, but I'll reserve more judgment if I ever stay there, use some points to stay
You'll
there
get
at
you'll
some
get
point.
there sometime.
I think so.
You'll get there. It'll be a nice, 4-day weekend just if you were to go down with Doc,
Yeah, have some points to burn maybe.
or if you could get really good fare, bring the kids down because your girls were asking what's the most expensive resort.
That's true.
I
I
love
did get
that
that.
question.
Yeah, you liked that, didn't
I
you?
like that. Yeah, it's like opening the menu when you find out somebody's buying and asking
What's the
getting the
most
most
expensive?
expensive item on the menu. Absolutely.
How about a restaurant? What's your favorite restaurant that you've been to?
I think it's Topolino's now.
Wow.
I
Because you
think
love the breakfast and you've had dinner there and you said it was to die for.
yes, yes.
I'm assuming you're excluding Victoria and Albert's
Yeah,
from this.
B&A is just an experience in itself.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a little outside the box, and I think my favorite restaurant right now, for a similar reason, is uh is Boma. I love that buffet, both breakfast and
Oh,
dinner.
yeah.
It's
All
phenomenal.
right.
It's not necessarily. I wouldn't recommend it if you're looking for a romantic night, but as far as the way I do it now with the family and
Yeah.
having, you know, everyone that wants something different, and I'm still an adventurous eater, it's perfect because I don't think a place like Sanaa or Tiffin's is gonna work with my group because not everyone's gonna find something they like at those sit downs, but Boma really lets me hit my adventurous side, and there's enough regular stuff for the kids and the non-adventurous eaters, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
So
it's
it
got a
really,
little bit of something for everyone, yeah.
and plus you just you're in the action. I love the lobby there. It's a good restaurant.
And I've always had amazing service for a buffet.
Oh yeah, it's great service. I agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
Let's see, what other questions do we have? When did you first start thinking about DVC, and what finally pulled you in to sign a contract?
So I first started thinking about it after I rented the points to stay at Animal Kingdom
'Cause
Lodge.
it was your first deluxe stay, and you said, "I can't go backwards now."
Oh, that and like the price I paid to rent the points was the same. Like we stayed the same
In
amount of
the
nights.
2s, right? Wasn't it in
Ye
the 2s a night? 2 change a night?
Yeah, exactly. So we did a split stay at Port Orleans French Quarter and then Animal Kingdom. I think we did 4 nights at each, and the cost was almost exactly the same. It was like $1,600 for each place. And I'm saying, if I'm paying the same by renting points, I'm missing something here. Like, how are people renting their points out and it's cheaper than staying at a moderate? So
I know.
then I started looking into it, and direct, it didn't really, the numbers didn't work out for me. But then I started looking at resale a little bit after you bought your contract,
Yeah.
and the wheels started spinning real fast when I saw what I could get for the money, and talking to people that have DVC and how they use it, and being able to modify it 7 months and doing all that stuff. I felt like getting a resort that was a little cheaper, buying in at Saratoga, let me get my foot in the door and now start staying at these places and see which ones we really like the best. So that was kind of the tip of the iceberg, staying at Animal Kingdom, renting the points, and just figuring out the math. Like, how are you able to rent it out for that cheap?
Right.
Well, obviously, because, if you buy it resale or if you've owned it for a while, you can make your money back doing it
Yeah,
that
you
way.
just need to make a few bucks back, or you're trying to pay your annual dues and you don't have the money for that. There's a number of reasons why people are renting out their points.
Yeah, of course. Some people rent enough to pay their dues and they use the rest. Like, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Strategies.
Yeah. What about you? When did you start
W- w-
considering it?
We went to a presentation early on. I want to say 16. I think the minimum was 25 to 50.
Mm-hmm.
And we were close. And again, it's an emotional buy. And we said, we got to think about it. And then 2 days go by, 3 days go by, a week goes by. And I don't really want to. And it was a 50. I think it was 25 to 50 points. I would have had the blue card at a
Yeah, because
lower
at
number.
those, you got direct benefits for anything at
Right.
that point. Yeah.
Right. So then it happened when we went over to Riviera and we had lunch at Primo Piatto, and we just both fell in love with that resort. We went up and talked to the DVC booth, and they said, "Do you want to take a tour?" They brought a guide over. We toured the tower studio, the 1 and 2 bedrooms, and then the grand villa, and we were sold. And it was actually my wife. I'm the Disney nerd. It was my wife who said, "Why don't we buy it? We've been talking about it for years. The time that we do come up and either stay when your family's here, or we come up for a couple weekends, we're spending $1,000 to $2,000 a year anyways.
Right.
So it'll allow us more trips." So then we decided we wanted to buy direct because we did want the blue card, and the price difference between the Grand Floridian direct and resale wasn't too much of a difference. I think it
No, you got a relatively good deal.
$4,500. And I
Yeah.
said, for $4,500 at 150 points, I'd rather have all the direct benefits and then just get in and before they go up to 200, 250.
Yeah, because as a local, I feel like the direct benefits are more impactful for you,
Absolutely.
with the discounts, the lounges, the Moonlight Magic stuff that you can kind of do at a last minute. Whereas
Right.
someone like me, I didn't really consider it because I went for a cheaper home resort. So the difference was a lot bigger for me to go direct. It was
And from the
almost
sounds
double.
of it, with
Yeah.
you loving Saratoga, you originally bought 7-month contract, but now you're happy that you bought in where you bought because it's your favorite right now.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind. Like, I want to try out a lot of the different places. So, like, as being still relatively new, I want to stay
Yeah, absolutely.
everywhere. But, if I get to the point where it's like, all right, you can modify at the 7 months or be quote unquote stuck at Saratoga, I'm not going to be upset being at Saratoga. I like it
Exactly.
quite a lot.
Yeah, you said after your first stay that you're not gonna be bothered if you have to stay there every time you come down.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. The rooms are gorgeous there.
They are. They did a beautiful refurb. I stayed there a year ago for my birthday, and we absolutely loved it. Loved it, loved it. Now, as you can hear, I have a direct contract and you have an resale contract.
Correct.
So we're not here picking sides.
No, no, no.
We see the values of both.
Exactly. So you guys got yours. You did direct.
Yes.
I did resale. But one of the things that we want to talk about on the show in the future is, the benefits of both. If you're thinking about buying in, what's right for you? Because
Right.
you have some people are like, you're stupid to buy direct, resale's cheaper. But then if you look at things like if you want to buy at the Polynesian right now and you look at the resale prices, they're not much lower than direct prices.
Right, so I
So,
think right now you'd be crazy not to buy direct, depending
right.
on what the price point comes out when the Polynesian tower opens up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you're gonna have those benefits, and you're gonna be able to stay at the, at the Rivieras
Riviera,
and the Disneyland hotels and
California. Yeah,
all of their
exactly.
future builds, so
So there's definitely benefits to both. And like I said, if you're local or if you're planning on getting an annual pass, then you can get the discounted annual pass, which can save you considerably. Especially if you have a larger family that you can buy multiple, could save, a few $100s per person on an annual pass doing it that way. So there's definitely benefits to direct. I just didn't feel like it made sense for me at the time, and you obviously wanted direct for those reasons. So
that
we'll
is
talk about that
correct.
in the future. There's something else that you really like to talk about and you want to talk about, and this is like a portfolio analysis of a
Yeah, I wanna
DVC.
yeah.
So explain this a little bit.
Well, I've been studying a lot, I've got a few certifications, but I wanna have people on the show, by the way, info at addictedtodvc.com. Email the show if you wanna come on. We wanna have guests and tons of guests. So we wanna analyze your portfolio. We wanna have you come on. We're gonna see what your resorts are, how many points you have,
Yeah,
and discuss whether you might be too heavy. You might be too heavy at Saratoga, and we need to, diversify.
right.
Maybe sell a little bit of Saratoga and get in at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Bay Lake's a pretty good deal right now if you like being on a monorail
Yeah, I've heard that 'cause you
resort.
got a long yeah, because you got different, expiration dates to take into account,
Yeah.
things like that. There's a lot of different things. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff we'll talk about. Like you said, guests, especially, you don't even have to be a DVC owner if you just have questions. If you're
Yeah,
thinking about it, you want to know.
absolutely.
We can have episodes about renting to, dip your toes in.
And we'd
I'd
like to
like
have
to,
some of these business owners like Dave's DVC to come on. Free promoting of their products and services.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to have that.
Because there's
And
not, like you said, a lot of people they don't realize that there are so many different options
yeah,
to
tons.
get into this product. And this product is not for everybody either.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the long and short of it. I don't know. Is there anything else introductory that you wanted to get out there? I think it
No,
kind of encapsulates most of it, doesn't it?
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So you
No,
wanted to hit.
we
Oh, go
wanted to
ahead.
dive into something though, didn't we?
Yes, there was one thing.
So you and I were going back and forth. You're planning a trip next year with your sister husband, and they have two twin boys.
Yep.
And you're married and have two girls.
Yep.
And you're looking at doing a 2-bedroom at Saratoga Springs.
Well, I want to book it because the 11-month
Sure,
window's
to do the
coming up
11-month, right? And then look at modifying it somewhere else.
potentially. Yeah,
And
or
you were
do a
wondering
split.
if you should do a dedicated or lock off.
Yeah, because not every place has a distinction between the dedicated and the lockup, but Saratoga does. Um, so there's dedicated 2 bedrooms that only have one entrance. They're the same square footage
Yeah,
from what I found
yeah.
online. They're 1,030 square feet, both of them. The dedicated, obviously, like I said, has one entrance. The biggest difference is the second bedroom has 2 queen beds as opposed
Sure.
to a Murphy
Yep.
bed. I guess if you have the lock off, though, you're going to have a second kitchenette because if that room's being used as a studio, you're going to have a little kitchenette in there,
That's correct.
which I feel like is a waste of space if you're in a 1 bedroom because you already have a full kitchen. You don't need a little kitchenette. That's just taking up square footage. Whereas in a dedicated, that room's going to be probably more living area
Right.
or the second bathroom, whatever, however they do it. So I'm leaning towards dedicated, but I don't know. I haven't really done enough research. I didn't
I
even
like
realize.
I like the second entrance
Yeah,
for a family.
for like a split family where you can lock them out.
Not even locking them out. No, for them to have their own entrance so they don't have to come through because you're gonna have obviously you're gonna probably have the king
Yeah, the
bed,
master. Yep.
and then your kids will sleep in
The
where the
common area.
living area is, the common
Yeah.
area. And then your
Yeah.
sister will take the
The two
studio.
queens. Yeah.
Well, I'd rather have a separate entrance for her so that if they're gonna be late at the parks or you guys are gonna be late at the parks, they can just enter in the studio.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point too in that setup. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
I
not
guess
so much locking them out. I mean, you could at night, you could shut that door and you guys would have the one bedroom, they would have the studio. But I'm just thinking if they want to get an early start and now they don't have to interrupt you or like if the girls are sleeping, they're gonna come in now and have breakfast or
that's true. But I almost feel like it's kind of like excluding them from access to the full.
but they would have access, I would say, like, at night and
That's true.
in the mornings.
So there's only the one balcony, it says, though, which doesn't make sense if it's. I guess the dedicated only has one bigger balcony, and then obviously the lock-off would have two balconies.
Would have two. Yeah, that would make
one
sense.
off each bedroom. I
Yeah,
guess.
that makes sense.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch some YouTube videos and see the difference. And
Yeah,
check
I'm
it out a
leaning.
little bit.
I'm leaning toward the lock off,
The lock
and
off.
you're kind of leaning toward the dedicated.
I'm leaning towards dedicated. I just think it'll be a little extra room.
Okay.
Just that kitchenette. Like, I don't know. Having two entryways and the second kitchenette, I feel like that just takes up a lot of that space. Because for 8 people, 1,000 square feet's not that big. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, but it's going to still feel small with 8 people. So being able to have as much extra space as possible might be an advantage. I'll keep you posted on what I decide. I'm gonna have to do some research in the coming days and make a decision because I got to book something next week. As a matter of fact,
Next week. So yeah.
It was the 11-month mark. Yeah.
So let us know if anybody stayed with two families, what they've decided if it is a 2-bedroom lock off or a 2-bedroom dedicated.
Because a lot of the
the way to
resorts
go.
don't even have a distinction between them.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Because, like you said, I think the Grand Floridian, all the 2 bedrooms are lock-offs. Right?
That's what I believe. Actually Riviera has lock off and dedicated, which
okay.
being
I
their
didn't realize that.
newest tower, it's surprising.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I'd love to hear from people. So why don't you tell people where they can find us and reach out to us, Mike?
You can find do we even have a Facebook group? We do. DVC Addicts.
That's right.
Yeah, we've created a Facebook group. It's DVC Addicts. We're starting to put some stuff in there.
Mhm.
And you can email the show again at info@addictedtodvc.com.
Perfect. So check us out there. And you can also visit our main show's YouTube page, youtube.com/@WDWBTG. We have a lot of DVC content there, room tours,
A lot of
restaurant
room
reviews.
reviews, restaurant reviews.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff over there as well. So check that YouTube page out. That'll be our main YouTube page covering both channels.
You're exactly right.
Anything else you want to add here, Mike?
No, we're able to keep this to under 30 minutes, which was our goal. We're going to try to keep this 30 to 40 minutes. I don't want to go to 45 plus. So
Yeah, no, we got to keep it tight. Easily digestible.
All right. So once again, thanks for listening to episode 1 of the Addicted to DVC podcast for my cousin Gary up in Rhode Island. I'm Mike in sunny Sarasota, Florida. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Addicted to DVC podcast with Mike and Gary. We want to hear from you. Email us at info@addictedtodvc.com and follow us on all socials at DVC Addicts. We appreciate you being a part of our DVC community, and we'll see you again on our next episode. Thanks again for listening, and welcome home.